Hello, in this video we're going to discuss Miller's Chapter 2 homework questions. We start with number 2. If you receive a ticket to a concert at no charge, what, if anything, is your opportunity cost of attending the concert? How does your opportunity cost change if miserable weather on the night of the concert requires you to leave much earlier for the concert hall and greatly extends the time it takes to get home afterward? If it were up to me, this would be A and B, because you have two questions in this paragraph formed question. So I like to separate those. If I were to rewrite this for a test or something like it, I would try to do that if it were up to me. I find it more palatable for students if you break it into smaller pieces. So we're going to take on the first part first. Someone gives you a ticket to a concert. Are there any costs of going to that concert for you? Well, what is the definition of opportunity cost, or what are we looking for here? Opportunity cost is everything that is foregone in order to get something. Okay? So some costs of the concert. A lot of times people will point out the transportation costs of getting there. That's a real cost that you wouldn't have incurred had you not gone to the concert. But what if you would have gone someplace else that night? So that may or may not be a cost of going to the concert. Let's focus on that. The other thing you might have done. If you go to the concert, can you stay home and rest? No, you can't do both. You give up the opportunity to just relax at home if you go to the concert. The additional costs, if that's the trade-off that you would have made, if that was your next opportunity, the thing that you would have done, so then your full cost of the concert then would be the value of resting at home plus the cost of going to the concert in terms of transportation. If you'd stayed at home, you might have eaten at home. Now, if you go to the concert, you might get dinner out. It's going to cost more. Can you attribute the entire cost of dinner, really, truly, to going to the concert? No, actually. The cost of going to the concert then was really the marginal cost of what you spent going out to dinner over what you would have spent if you had eaten at home. You also might have to pay for parking, of course, that you wouldn't have to pay for if you had stayed at home. Again, if you were going to do something else that night, you might have had to pay for parking there too. So you can't necessarily attribute that cost to the concert. There are other costs involved with things we can explore here. I've gone to a number of concerts, and I don't believe I've ever been home before midnight when I've gone to a concert. And tour dates, the way musicians do things, rock musicians anyway, they tour during the week. So if it's a Tuesday night and I go to a concert, how am I on Wednesday? I'm tired. Is that a cost of the concert? Probably, unless I would have stayed up late or done something late anyway, then going to the concert costs me that. And that makes me irritable. So then there's some probability weighting that I'm going to say things or do things that I'm not going to be happy with later because I was tired and irritable because of the concert. So actually, that's part of the costs of going to the concert. But the opportunity cost, to get to that, you need to focus on the next thing that you would have done, and that is what you give up to do the event. How about the poor weather aspect? What might poor weather do in relationship to going to a concert? Let's go ahead and assume that the concert was inside. If it's outside, you're going to sit in the poor weather, or if you're going to do it. Usually, when I've left concerts, big concerts anyway, it takes 45 minutes or an hour just to get out of the parking lot. Sometimes it takes that to get into the parking lot. I've been to some concerts like that. When poor weather happens, that tends to be even more. So now the relaxation from home is burned on both ends. if that was the alternative, if that's the opportunity that you would have taken otherwise, because you have to leave earlier to get there and you're going to get home later. So now your opportunity cost has risen because you're giving up more time. Time isn't a cost, though. Don't say time. What you would have done with the time is the cost. But now you're losing more of something else because it takes longer because of the bad weather. So I think that's a pretty thorough answer to that. Hopefully you can find some stuff in there you can use. Hopefully you already had those answers jotted down on your paper. The next one we did was number 6. The following table illustrates the points a student can earn on examinations in economics and biology if the student uses all available hours for studying. Plot the student's production possibilities curve. Does the PPC illustrate the law of increasing additional cost? That term is I think, unusual one. I've usually what we're talking about here, the way I hear it phrased, increasing additional cost is actually redundant. That might just be a full-on typing error. Usually we call this increasing opportunity cost. Increasing opportunity cost is what the author really means to say there. I'm quite sure of it. I think whoever did the typing here maybe didn't quite get that. Anyway, so to see if it illustrates the law of increasing opportunity cost, we're going to draw it first. And I try to do this exercise as little as possible because watching someone plot points is not really a very fun exercise. I mean, it's even less fun than what we've done so far. So I'm going to do it as quickly as I can. But we will do it once or twice just to make sure everybody's getting the concept, where these things are coming from. It helps that way. So I didn't write the table because it's right there available for you in your book. But what I set up was the axes. Let me see if I can get the right way here. And I just went out to the extremes. I actually used a ruler to do this, so I have those equidistant away from the origin. And now that I have the extremes, I can eyeball and put halfway to the extremes. Okay, so if that's 100 pages of biology on my horizontal axis, and that's 100 on my vertical axis, about halfway up, I just put in those marks. And so these are 50 pages each, right? And I could go out to the 75s, split those in half, split these in half. And that's actually more accurate of placement than we really need. We could have got by without it being so tidy, but there it is. So again, what we're looking at here, these are scores by using all available hours to study. So that's why the maximum is 100%, the most the student can get. So if the student devotes all of his or her time and energy into studying economics, looks like, they could get 100 in economics. But if they did that, the person wouldn't be using any of those resources for studying biology. So it looks like showing up and guessing for the biology exam would land them a 40. So if this is 50, and that's 25, the 40 in biology is somewhere in here, right? So if I go up from there to the 100 that corresponds to that combination, that combination corresponds to that amount of resources used, that many hours studying, I'm looking at a point like about there. So plot that point hopefully you have there. And then now if the student didn't study quite so much economics, they could improve that biology score, right? Or put it this way, how can they improve the biology score given the structure of the question? The only way would be to study less econ. So to improve the biology score, they might be able to pull it up to a 60, that would be about here, but they have to stop studying econ quite so much. So they would lose some of that 100, and that would land them at the 90. So 60, 90, well, here's 50, 60 is just right at that, and 90 should be somewhere not too far down from 100, so that would be about like there. Now, continuing on this path, they study a little less econ, which means they can study more biology, um, and they get 80 in econ, but a 75 in biology. There's my 75. I go on up to 80. That looks to be about there. And now they study some more biology. They're really sliding in econ, though. They pick their biology grade up to an 85. That would be about here. But their econ grade has now slid down to a 70. So looking to be about here. Studying a little more bio, they can pick up 5 more points of bio if they devote such an amount of resources to it that they lose 10 points in econ. So that lands them at the 98, just left of 100, but their econ grade has come down to a 50 if they choose that use of the resources. And then to score 100 in bio, what they'd have to do is give up yet another 10. To get 2 more points in bio, they'd have to give up 10 more points in econ, and that would land them at 140. So like here. So these are they can't do any more than one of these. They can do any one of these, but only one of these at most, using full use of the resources. So this is a production possibilities curve, and we looked at trading off studying 2 subjects and made it more simple, just to get the idea. This is probably more realistic because some classes are harder than others, and that's what we're seeing here. Does it illustrate increasing opportunity costs? As the student got an additional point in biology, did he or she give up the same amount of points for one additional point in biology? Let me phrase that carefully. Did he or she give up the same amount of points each additional point in econ, or did they give up more and more points in econ for each point that he or she got in biology? They gave up more and more. It's listed here as giving up 10 blocks of 10, boom, 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 right on down the line for econ. So it looks constant on the left column. But if you look at the right column, what they're getting for giving up 10 is decreasing. So going from a 98 to 100 in biology is only gaining 2 points, but it costs 10. To go from the 93 to the 98 in biology, they gained 5 points, but it costs 10. So for each point of biology the student is getting, they're giving up more and more econ. So it does illustrate increasing opportunity costs. To get better scores in biology, they have to give up more and more econ. And the way this sort of plays out I bet, in what you do in your studies is when you have a test coming, or a couple tests coming, as it tends to be, right? When it rains, it pours, right? You have to decide what things to study. And I know I used to go to the thing that I thought I could absorb most quickly and easily and study that thing, okay? And then I would move on to the next sort of easier thing for me to absorb and feel comfortable that I would have it. And then I would move on to the next one and the next one and the next one. And I would do that because this is really how things do work for us. The last hour of studying, most likely you are not picking up as much understanding of something as you did in the first hour of studying it. And now that's just studying maybe just one topic, but over here you're studying 2 topics, and what's happening is to study bio, to pick up these last 2 points of bio, must be a really hard concept in bio. So it's taking just as long to learn how to do this thing that might be on the test that gives you 2 points as it did to do the easy thing in bio that would have picked you up 20 points in the first, say, hour of study, because each one of those gave up 10 points of econ. So I hope that helped your understanding of this. I think I'm going to make a separate video now for number 9, and then I'm fairly sure I'm going to make yet a third video for 10, 11, and 12. Maybe I'll squeeze those together.